To conduct a document review, utilizing the Validation and Effectiveness Program under the SQF Module 2.5.1, first check if the document title matches the uploaded file name on the dashboard. In this instance, we do have the same titles as the Validation and Effectiveness Program. Next, both must have the same document code. For this example, we do have 2.5.1P0. Since this is a template, we indicate the PCQI as the account initials. However, we can customize the code based on the company's initials. For the page number, we use the page X of Y format. Ensure that it reflects the current page position and the total page number of the document. Then insert the company logo here, together with the company name, the company address, and enter the designated department. For the originated by section, it can be the food safety, quality assurance, or the quality control personnel of the company. The originator ensures the implementation of the quality management and document control system. First, enter the name of the originator, affix the signature, input the position title, and the date originated. For the reviewed by section, it can be the personnel assigned in the Quality Management Department who reviews the drafted document or its revision for accuracy and implementation. Enter the name of the reviewer, affix the signature, input the position title, and the date reviewed. For the approved by section, it must be the person in the C-level management who has approval authority. First, enter the name of the approver, affix the signature, input the position title, and the date approved. The revision date is the same as the date originated or drafted by the author. For the effective date, it is the date the document was signed and approved. The publication date is when the document is published for distribution and initiated personnel training. The implementation date is when the document is distributed and personnel training is completed. For the supersedes, put original for the initial issuance of the document. For any revisions, reflect the initial revision date before the current revision. Please be reminded that this section must be properly filled out to be compliant. Now we will focus on the components of the program. First is purpose. The purpose is the implementation of any certification standard or compliance with a regulatory requirement. For this program, it is for implementation with the SQF Module 2 Edition 9 for food manufacturing under Clause 2.5.1. First, to implement SQF 2.5.1.1, the methods, responsibility, and criteria for ensuring the effectiveness of all applicable elements of the SQF program shall be documented and implemented. The methods applied shall ensure that 1. Good manufacturing practices are confirmed to ensure they achieve the required results. 2. Critical food safety limits are validated and revalidated annually. 3. Changes to the processes or procedures are assessed to ensure controls are still effective. And 4. All applicable elements of the SQF program are implemented and effective. Records of all validation activities shall be maintained. Second, to adhere with 21 CFR 120.11 validation of the HACCP plan. Each processor shall validate that the HACCP plan is adequate to control food hazards that are reasonably likely to occur. This validation shall occur at least once within 12 months after implementation and at least annually thereafter, or whenever any changes in the process occur that could affect the hazard analysis or alter the HACCP plan in any way. Such changes may include changes in the following: raw materials or source of raw materials, product formulation, processing methods or systems including computers and their software, packaging, finished product distribution systems or the intended use or consumers of the finished product. The validation shall be performed by an individual or individuals who have been trained in accordance with 120.13 and shall be subject to the record-keeping requirements of 120.12. The HACCP plan shall be modified immediately whenever a validation reveals that the plan is no longer adequate to fully meet the requirements of this part. And third, to adhere with 21 CFR 120.11 validation of the hazard analysis. Whenever a juice processor has no HACCP plan because a hazard analysis has revealed no food hazards that are reasonably likely to occur, the processor shall reassess the adequacy of the hazard analysis whenever there are any changes in the process that could reasonably affect whether a food hazard exists. Such changes may include changes in the following: raw materials or source of raw materials, product formulation, processing methods or systems including computers and their software, packaging, finished product distribution systems, or the intended use or intended customers of the finished product. The validation of the hazard analysis shall be performed by an individual or individuals who have been trained in accordance with 120.13, and records documenting the validation shall be subject to the record-keeping requirements of 120.12. Second is scope. The scope of the program is based on the purpose and serves as a guide in defining and describing the layout of the procedure. It includes the effectiveness and validation methods for GMP and SSOPs, the validation methods for CCPs, and the validation and verification. Next to scope is policy. The policies are the rules set by the company as their implementation guide. The effectiveness of prerequisite programs and other food safety controls are confirmed by observation, inspection, or audit. 2. To ensure that the programs and limits achieve their intended purpose in producing safe food, critical food safety limits are validated. 3. Validation involves testing over and above daily monitoring to ensure that established food safety limits are effective. In other words, achieve the desired results, so that management can have confidence that the product and storage are safe. Fourth, validation methods vary depending on the risk to finished product safety. And fifth, for hazards assessed as high risk, the critical limits are revalidated annually. Fourth is procedures. The procedure is the step-by-step process and the actual implementation of the policy. Under procedure, first is effectiveness and validation methods for GMP and SSOPs. Water. Water that comes into direct contact with food or food contact surfaces is derived from a safe and sanitary source or is treated to make it safe. Validation is through a water potability test for in-house and or may request in the water quality from the city. Next is cleaning and sanitation. All food contact surfaces, including utensils and food contact surfaces of equipment, are cleaned as frequently as necessary to protect against allergen cross-contact and contamination of food, which you may refer to 21 CFR 117.35 and to Cleaning and Sanitation Monitoring Log. For personnel practices, the company requires and issues line workers' lab coats, single-use work gloves, effective hair restraints, and face masks are to be worn in the food processing plant. Where applicable, beard and mustache covers are supplied to cover and fully contain hair and beards. The line supervisor will ensure that all production staff and visitors entering the food processing plant are issued protective gear. Employees are not allowed to use personal gear to replace these items unless authorized by the line supervisor and quality assurance. Hand washing. Hand washing stations will be located in the processing room, break room, restrooms, and where good sanitary practices require employees to wash and sanitize their hands. The production supervisor or quality assurance will check the hand washing stations for adequate supplies before operation begins and every 4 hours during operation. Results will be recorded on the daily sanitation audit form. Next to hand washing is infectious disease. Anyone who has or may have, by medical examination or supervisory observation, an illness, infected wound, an open lesion such as a boil or sore, or any other problem that might contaminate food, Food contact surfaces or packaging materials shall be excluded from any operations until the condition is healed or corrected. Validation is based on the medical results compiled in the employee personnel file. Next is pest prevention. The presence of rodents, insects, birds, or other pests in the plant is unacceptable. Contract service provider has been contracted and is responsible for all facets of pest control within the warehouse. Material data sheets for all pesticides used by the company are on file. The Quality Control Department will inspect the facility for the presence of pests daily before operation, which you may refer to Pest Control Daily Inspection Checklist and the Pest Sighting Log. Next to pest prevention is training. All personnel is effectively trained and understand the food safety management system, including SQF, good manufacturing practices, personnel hygiene, and assigned duties, which you may refer to training program. Next is allergen management. Prevent sources of allergens from contaminating the product. The testing kits or swab testing includes the qualitative and the quantitative analysis of food allergens. Then calibration, which includes the calibration of equipment and the authorized third-party calibration service provider. And environmental monitoring program, which includes the cleaning and inspection and environmental testing EMP zones. Second under procedure is the validation methods for CCPs. Validation for the critical limits identified for all CCPs, which you may refer to Food Safety Plan. First, the process preventive controls. Second, the allergen control step. And third is the frequency. Critical food safety limits are validated annually and revalidated when changes to the process occur, which you may refer to Food Safety Plan and to the Validation Food Safety Plan. And lastly, under procedure is the validation and verification. Validation and verification activities of GMP, SSOPs, and all applicable elements of SQF are scheduled by the SQF practitioner for any changes or processes that occur, which you may refer to Validation GMP, to SQF System Management Review, and to Validation Food Safety Plan. The fifth component of the program is responsibility. The responsibility of the person is indicated. It covers what to perform to comply with the procedure or the policy. First, the SQF practitioner is responsible for documenting and implementing the methods, responsibility, and criteria for confirming the effectiveness of prerequisite programs and validating critical food safety limits to ensure they achieve their intended purpose. Senior management and QA must demonstrate how the validation methods ensure that the selected critical limits achieve the level of control required for the targeted food safety hazard. And QA must also have documentation showing that the methods and control measures provide the level of control needed. Sixth, corrective action. The corrective action is the process of taking appropriate steps to eliminate causes of nonconformities or other undesirable situations. If the processes or procedures are not effectively implemented, review of the processes or procedures, any changes must be reviewed, approved, and implemented, and revalidate. Next is reference document. The reference documents are the set of documents used to implement and monitor a program, policy, or procedure. It includes the training program, the calibration program, premises and equipment, pest prevention program, the food safety plan, validation GMP, the validation food safety plan, and the SQF system management review. Then we have review quality. The review section serves as guidelines for conducting the annual or periodic review. For first and second, the documentation and implementation of the methods and responsibility and criteria for ensuring the effectiveness of the prerequisite programs. Third, prerequisite programs achieve their intended purpose. Fourth, critical food safety limits are validated annually or when changes to process occur. Fifth, methods used to validate critical limits ensure that the process step is safe if critical limits are met. Sixth, critical limits effectively provide the designated level of control. Seventh, personnel conducting validation activities understand their roles and responsibilities. And eighth, records of all verification activities are current and accurate. The ninth component of the program is references. The reference section is composed of guides utilized to implement the program. Examples are the certification guide, regulations, and other widely accepted scientific journals, research, and the like. It must comply with the standard format citation, which can be based on either MLA, APA, or the Chicago style, and update the access date. Lastly, history. The history section is where we can update the program if there are any changes or revisions made in the document. If there is a revision, enter the revision number, followed by the revision date, the description of the change made, then the name of the author or the originator, and the title or department of the author or the originator. Thank you for participating in this document review. Content presented are for training purposes only and are based on the interpretation of standards and best practices and must be customized for your intended use. To fully customize your programs, policies, procedures, forms for records, and lessons for training, you may contact Interlink IQ or Consultier Inc. at services@interlinkiq.com or simply call 202-982-3002. For free access, visit interlinkiq.com.